Welcome everyone to a tour of the Season 9 Titancraft map. So this is essentially our world download from Titancraft Season 9 with all of the amazing builds, and I'm here to show off a few of them. The primary focus of this tour is going to be public projects, whether that's open areas like this, the shopping district, farms, all those sorts of things. That is what we're going to be taking a look at in this tour. If you're unaware, Titancraft is a vanilla Minecraft server. It's a survival SMP, so everything you see in this video is built in survival except for this starting area, which was made by our moderators as the spawn area. So all of this was not made in survival, but everything else was. If you're interested in seeing a tour of my personal project from Season 9, then I am uploading videos after this one, including all of the behind the scenes, the secrets, the collectibles, just playing through the levels so that you get to see them. That will be coming up after this video. So let's get right into the tour. Starting off, if you join Titancraft, you'll be greeted by a boat and a welcome to Titancraft cookie. Logging in on a world download, you still get those things, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so just a little welcome to Titancraft. We're starting off here in the spawn area. Like I said before, this was created by our moderators, and I am of course going to tour in creative just because it's easier to show, and now that the season's over, we're not adjusting anything. The spawn area that the moderators created was inspired by the update we started our season in. As you can see, this is Japanese themed with cherry blossom trees and things like that on a giant floating island. The cherry blossom trees were brand new when we started the season, so that was kind of the focus on that, as well as the deep slate, I believe was new. I can't quite remember. But yeah, I love this spawn. You spawn right here and just are in the middle of the village. It's such a great site. There's a lot of helpful things around here, whether it's some basic armor areas or our public iron farm. So folks can come in here and grab some free iron every day, which is awesome. The farm is stored inside of this giant blimp named after Tango Tech. So this awesome blimp housed the iron farm. Moving away from the spawn area, just nearby is the shopping district. And the shopping district, of course, is where you go to buy any of the goods that you need. I love that redstone factory over there, or this mangrove log area. A banner shop right here. There's obviously a whole bunch of awesome places to take a look at. I did not participate super hard on shops besides this one right here. You can see this little shack with a pickaxe above it was my singular shop selling diamond tools. This was just enough diamonds to get me by for building materials. Most of the shopping district is pretty full. You can see there's a big variance on whether it's tall buildings or small buildings, things that are just signs. There's our friend Cable over there on top of his Greek house, but there are also some market stalls right here. The market stalls were a great idea just to have simple things. You can see someone had a obsidian shop right here, but all you need is to claim one little thing. And that made it super approachable, because when you see all of these giant shops, it might be a little intimidating to build one just like it. So this was a way for a lot of people to get a head start. One extra little feature here is a button on this doll, and it says press the button to boost server TPS for luck. All this button did was kick you out from the server, and it was quite funny. You got an achievement for it, and that obviously got a bunch of recognition in the chat. I'm going to quickly glance at some of the shops over here. We got a cool ice tree, as well as a sand castle. There's a trident shop out over there. One of my favorite shops is right here. Not necessarily for things that I purchased, but the color gradients, oh, just amazing. So there are a bunch of portals as well around the corners of the shopping district, so you could get to the areas that you want to. That's especially useful because, you know, this shopping district is ginormous. I also love the steampunk one. That is super awesome. There are also a handful of shops hiding over on this section. The stacks here of these crates was one that I shop pretty frequently at. It popped up super late in the season. There is also like a little haunted mansion over there. I also love this build right here. Just the angles and the detail with all of the shape looks fantastic. A gold block with some crying obsidian, a very nether themed shop, a cake, a garage, and a giant like fungus explosion, and that one's pretty cool as well. One other thing I'd like to show you here in the shopping district is this building right here in the corner. Oh my goodness, I love the design of this thing. Specifically, the diagonal angles just turned out so great on these top towers. I think it really adds a lot to the build. But this isn't actually a shop. This building is actually a mail system. So if you were a new player and you went ahead and walked in here, then you can see that there are a bunch of barrels with different lights. So if I was a new player and this one was unclaimed, then I could go ahead and write my name on the sign, and whenever something is in my barrel, then the light is on. So just a neat way to keep track of all of the different people on the server and be able to deliver stuff to them because we are all so spread out. You can see that it just keeps going up and up and up. There are a lot of people on the server, but of course there's a few blank at the top. Also somewhat near the shopping district is this bridge over here, and this leads right over to the game district. A lot of these public districts were pretty close together, which is convenient for this tour, but you can see that there's not as many things here because more people obviously want to build shops than mini games, but there are still a whole ton of different games that you can come and play. I believe that's a procedurally generated maze, if I'm correct. Nope, it's rods. I don't think I played this one. We got a Guess That Movie, Bridges, which was a long-term game, I believe, of building bridges around with teams. Obviously, very big and very complicated, but definitely a fun one. There was a decked out tower that I believe was for placing bets on the Decked Out 2 season from Tango Tech. This was to make bets on which mob got the most kills or what player on the Hermitcraft server had the most deaths, that sort of thing. We got some more gambling type games over there. There's Clue right here. That's a super cool one. I don't think I've seen this. We got a Guess What game. Just a whole bunch of different games over here that are super, super awesome. And while we're over here by the minigame district, there is, of course, a super giant build right here that, you know, is a little hard to not notice. A great prismarine and warped wood base. It's very swirly, along with a giant iron golem holding out a guardian with an angel and devil of some of the players on our server. And obviously you can see I'm flying around in creative. This is massive. And if you're wondering what this is our guardian farm. So the undersea creatures, guardians, give you some of these materials. Oops. Luckily it's a world download. So in order to get those materials, we had to dig this out and make sure that it is farmable to get those materials. So yeah, this is the guardian farm. That's why the iron golem is holding onto the guardian. It's massive. I don't think there's much more to say about this other than woohoo, free materials, as well as holy crap, the scale on this thing is huge. And I think you'll find a lot of that in the farms that you see on this tour, as they are just massive and include clearing out a lot of places and spawn proofing them, just so that we get the best spawn rates on those public farms. One of my favorite mini games from this last season was Plinko. I played this one a decent amount. Essentially, when you come in here, you get to choose what section you think a chicken will fall down to. So you can see there are a few different lights. Right now, this one is selected. So if I select this one, that means that I think the chicken is going to fall down here. Obviously, the chicken can move around and go different places, and you're going to bet diamonds on that and try and win extra money. So really, it's just a gambling game. But there is some skill involved because you have access to snowballs and you can throw them at the chicken, which won't harm it. But can encourage him to try and go down the one that you're betting on. So super fun game. We had a bunch of people all kind of get together for this and watch. I didn't play it a whole bunch, but I sure watched a lot just because it was fun to see the people who couldn't resist trying to double their money go at it. So super fun memories of this place. We're back at the Blimp and Spawn Island. It's time to go take a look at some other things. Personally, one of my favorite things I am going to show you on this tour is coming up right here in the Nether. So if you have played Minecraft a lot, you know that having an organized Nether makes it so much easier to travel quickly. But not just that, it allows you to decorate and make it look great. Wow. I mean, this place is probably my favorite build out of anything that I have seen this season. Just wow. If you look here, obviously there is a giant cherry tree, which was brand new for the update we were playing. And there are 4 different areas. You can see the north tunnel here is very snowy, icy, kind of makes sense. The east tunnel has that cherry blossom spring kind of vibe. The south tunnel has the bamboo jungle summer vibe. And the west tunnel has the autumn kind of Japanese temple vibe. So I think what's so impressive about this Nether Hub, other than it just being super colorful and in amazing shape, is that there are really 4 different hubs all in one. You have such amazing structures of different variety and different colors. And along with that, you know, you have different animals with portals to some of the things you've seen so far, including that gaming district, shopping district, so on and so forth. So all of these different things just really tie it together. It is the coolest Nether Hub I have ever seen. And when you go down the tunnels, that doesn't stop either. Right here, you can see there's a pattern that goes all the way down. Such a colorful and fun tunnel. Obviously, that's a little bit different when it comes to the other ones. The color palette is obviously going to be a little bit different for each tunnel. All of them are going to follow sort of the entrance as well. That one is very bamboo focused. This one over here is very mangrove and orange, red, brown focused. And then same with this one being very icy, snowy, and more of like a cottage sort of vibe. So yeah, I don't know if I could state enough how much I love this, even just these floating lanterns as well, or the fact that all of it is completely open. Look at this. All of this bedrock was removed by hand, of course, survival. And you can see a cable with, I can't tell if that's a fishing rod or an axe. I believe it's a fishing rod. I think he's going fishing on the tree. But wow, this hub took so much work. I helped supply a lot of things for the build, but the resources required for this is absolutely insane. Not just the hub, but specifically for the tunnels. Just think about how many of each of these resources you need to go all the way to the end of these tunnels, which go for thousands and thousands of blocks. So pretty insane. The fact that it was all done within a month of the server starting, specifically the hub part, is crazy. The tunnels took obviously a bit longer to finish, but wow. I don't think I ever got sick of having to travel through the Nether with going to get supplies to the shopping district or go visit someone else, go to a public farm, all those things, because just going through all the tunnels was such a treat. So here's that last angle for me to show off one of my favorite builds. Well, after admiring that, we're going to go ahead and go down one of the tunnels here over to 560, I believe, and take a look at our end area. Right here in the north tunnels where you'll find the public end portal. So let's just go ahead and go through the nether portal to get there. Once we're here, we're greeted with just a pretty simple setup. Nothing really happened with this other than the actual end area. You can see a map of this place right here. Holy moly, look at how big that is. That is the end island you're about to see. Of course, map art makes that quite a bit cooler, but it's nice to just see an overview because it's so big I can't render all of it at once. So let's go ahead and hop in. As we hop over to the end, you can see that there's just this giant sea creature dinosaur with a huge long neck, gaping mouth. It's like a turtle dinosaur of sorts, but I love the color palette of the mud with the teal and the black. It just comes together so great. But all of these pillars are still on top. I believe they got torn down and rebuilt actually multiple times with the mountainous area as well. So just an amazing build. As you can tell, Titancraft is a server where big things happen, and that doesn't mean you're obligated to be part of those big things, but it certainly is a benefit being able to admire all of the amazing builds that come from people who really go all out. So once again, this is our end island. If you're ever interested in coming to the end for any reason or using an Enderman farm, this is where you would come. Obviously, such a pleasure to travel around this world. It really doesn't feel like work nearly as much. All right, for our next thing, we're going to head down the south tunnel just to this little spot right here. This is a rocket pickup stop. So the rocket farm supplied free rockets and the players would craft them by hand because this was before the crafter was released, and bring them right here. So players could come in, pick up some rockets, and be on their merry way. Of course, there are some other useful things here. There is the Global Golem, which is sort of a newspaper that has happened for our server. This includes a lot of the locations for different public farms, which is super awesome, as well as the graffiti district. This is something we started, I believe, last season, before this season, and people could come to this brick wall, which obviously was all hand built, and players could come and put anything they want here on the wall. So some people have built different cartoons or just different phrases, put their names on there. Lots and lots of cool things. I think maybe my favorite stuff here is probably the Scooby-Doo up top, as well as the Wally and Eva down here in the Founders Corner. So just a super cool map art that people have put together. Also here in the South Tunnel are our starter farms. If you join midway through the season, sometimes it can be really hard to find the right resources because everyone is looking to get them. So one of the solutions is to create some starter farms. If you want to take a look, there are a whole bunch of different farms that are super small. Of course, they're manual, so wheat you gotta harvest yourself. But what's really nice as a new player is if you're looking for something, it's really easy to just come to the starter farms and grab some. So if I want some sugarcane, I can grab some of that sugarcane, bring it back to my base, and plant it for myself. That's really the hardest part about being a new player, is making sure that you actually have some of these things. Like, hey, I need a cherry sapling. Then you can renew your own resources. There is also a map of the area in here, as you can see. So really, really nice to use banners to mark things. So if I'm looking for junglewood, great. I look at the map, I go to junglewood. Cactus, there it is. So on and so forth. Super, super convenient. But the other awesome part of coming to the starter farms is that every single mob in the game has been captured here. So you can see some wolves here. You can see sheep, pigs, mushroom cows. There's some of every single thing that you could breed and have more of. Obviously, we have entity limits on our server to prevent lag, but it's really nice to grab some armadillos, just go ahead and breed them, and then take one with me in a boat and be on my merry way. So that's another thing. You don't have to find mobs on your own because it's all here at the starter farms. So just a neat little resource that I thought was fun to show off. One other helpful thing is the community storage, which is right here. Obviously, it's nice to have access to resources as a new player when other players have a whole bunch of huge farms. So this is just a simple little storage room that has all of the things you could possibly need. So as a new player, if I need some stone, it's right there. Bamboo obviously is probably empty because it's at the starter farms. Granite would be right here. There's shulkers of it. Diorite, same thing. Andesite, all that sort of stuff. So if you're looking for anything, there is some stuff for you to take on your merry way. And honestly, even as a player who played the whole season and had access to all of these huge farms, it was nice to have a resource for when I was just looking for a little bit of something. If I'm looking for just a few hay bales so I can craft something or use as decoration, it's nice to have just a little something there whenever I need it. One project that is not public, and the only non-public project I do want to show off, just since we're already here, is this one right here. You've seen a handful of maps as I've done this tour, which are really hard to create and time-consuming, but I think that this one definitely deserves a little shout out because it's super quick. If you just come in here and take a look at this space, just wow. You know, I don't even need to say anything. You can just see how amazing it is that someone used map art to create this. So that's one thing that I love about the server that you have likely seen with all of the previous maps and things that I've already shown off. There are some very talented people that create map art. So I believe it was Limbrogger or Lima Bravo. So just another neat little project to show off for you. Moving on to the next thing on our list, I'm going to go ahead and go over some of my personal builds, including this tunnel that I worked on with my neighbor and my personal starter area. So this Blackstone cave obviously is a little crazy. This was Gonzo's project, my neighbor, for the season, and it turned out super awesome. It has an elytra course, some secrets to find in mini games and things like that. So definitely a cool place for me to kind of come through just because I'm his neighbor. If we go ahead and sneak through some of the rocks here, then we'll pop up on this side of the tunnel to do a build that I did super early in the season, that being our private village. This thing was, you know, almost the first thing I made, including a simple melon and pumpkin farm just for trading with villagers, as well as a simple villager farm, and then a little place carved into the side of the mountain. This little spot in the side of the wall was just a villager trading post. So if you come in here, you can see that I had a whole bunch of books lined up. There are zombies underneath to get the prices cheaper. And of course, we also have some farmers, toolsmiths, all that sort of deal. Just a standard villager setup. So that's definitely a humble beginning for me, but we can go ahead and go to my starter base now. Out in one of the main hallways, it's just a portal at the end of the tunnel. And if we go ahead and hop in here, this is where I spent most of my time early in the season. So wow, definitely getting some heavy nostalgia looking at this place. A few wheat fields were definitely my starting food with bread, a little cow pen, obviously just super simple farms, a little iron farm, and a house. This house design is actually not done by me, so I cannot take the credit. I will make sure to put a link in the description for the tutorial for building this. I am just a sucker for new update content. So, you know, when you play a new Minecraft update, obviously you want to play with the things that come with it that are brand new. So the first thing I did with the cherry forest being brand new was find a cherry forest. And once I found the forest, I was like, oh, I got to make a Japanese inspired house that uses those color palettes. But no matter how hard I tried, I could not find a way to make the pink look natural and good. So I looked up some houses and happened to find this one on YouTube and loved it. So this one is following that tutorial. Of course, some of the texturing is my own, including the base. I don't know if the base was taken from their video, but just want to put it out there that this was designed by someone else. So loved having a little cherry forest up here. I had a couple of base mates that stopped playing early on in the season, and so most of this area is just for me. However, if we go past the portal here, you'll be able to come to the interior. There are also front doors and back doors if you're interested. just a nice simple interior with some different beams, your standard stuff, bed, crafting tables, that sort of thing. I didn't spend a whole lot of time up here other than for convenience sake. Most of my time was actually spent down low. If you can see, there are water vaders right there, and then a little chute to fall down right here. As we walk through, we can come to the area I probably spent the second most amount of time in this season, just this little underground haven that I had for myself. This was inspired by some images I saw on Instagram that with Minecraft builds, just a whole bunch of sorcery. That's where I got this glass pane idea from. But the actual shape of some of these curves were all by me. I just really loved the color palette and thought I'd give my own interpretation of it. And I think it really came out great. It just felt like a starry night sky with some astronomy type things going on. Little bit of decoration here and there, and my enchanting book setup. So really, really loved that. And tried to get a hobbit hole sort of door going around and mimic the nether tunnels that you saw earlier. You can see there's an east tunnel, north, south, and west, and each of these tunnels have some useful things. So you come in the house, you drop down, and then how do you actually use this area? Well, if you see at the end, there's a honey block, deep slate, and iron. So that's different from over here that has lapis, bamboo, and a magma block. All of these are sort of meant to denote what is at the end of the tunnels or what farms are available. So let's take the west tunnel, for example. If we start walking down here, we got a cool tunnel design that I did myself. I really, really love how the shape came out. It just looks fantastic. But if we come all the way down here, you can see there's a bee farm, which is why there is honey, right? So just a simple bee farm that I used throughout the season. Same thing goes for the iron farm. We can go ahead and come up here and have access to the goods from the iron farm you saw earlier. This here is where I went and mined stuff, and that was just kind of what the deep slate is referring to. Similar things go down on this tunnel. We have a lava farm up here, which is super awesome, as well as a cave and waterfall, which is what the lapis was meant to represent. I really wasn't sure if I was ever going to do something with this, but it was good just to know what was down this hallway. And last but not least, we have a bamboo farm. Obviously, it's a little big and definitely kept my wood supply up. I also had a few different entrances to go down there as well. There's a staircase, but sometimes it was easier just to take the scaffolding right here. So bamboo farm was one of my big ones that was super helpful. Now, if we go down this tunnel right here, you'll see the firstborn child. I have so many memories that are popping up right now, including this. The first thing I did was build a gold farm with someone who really wanted to build one with me. And this was the first gold block that we ever got from our farm. It got put on a pedestal, and I don't think I used the gold farm after that, ironically enough. So just a fun little memento to have here. And down the same hallway, there's a furnace at the end. So the furnace, of course, denotes that there is a furnace array. There are quite a few. This design is actually mostly my own. Obviously, furnace arrays aren't super unique, but this was my crack at it. Usually I like to follow farm tutorials on YouTube because that's not really my passion. I just love to build stuff, but this was one of my first tries at a farm. It worked before the world download, so not sure what's going on here, but just a nice way for me to get my own XP to repair tools fast. This also was a dual function where not only was it XP banks, but things would get sent here to smelt as well. And last but not least, we have the south tunnel. This one has a few different things. One of those is a ginormous cactus farm. This cactus farm feeds into the XP farm that you just saw, and you can see the smelter input is also right here. All of the items just kind of go in towards the same area. And over here we have our storage system. So if I go ahead and fall down here, we have a few different parts. One of these is bulk storage. So I have a whole bunch of rockets and iron, stone, cobblestone. All of the lights kind of fill up to show how full something is, which is awesome. So obviously some of these got used quite a bit in my builds, so they're a little low, but this was my way of kind of separating my storage. So the first area is this bulk storage, which was helpful for these items I had a absolute ton of. The second part is over here, just kind of your basic chests with signs, but this was for more of the niche stuff. So flowers and stuff would be here, bricks and flint and ice were here, just stuff I didn't use a whole bunch, because a sorting system, sorting for every item in the game, that's quite a bit. But by removing those specific items as well as the bulk items, it means that up here on the upper floor, we're able to have a pretty robust storage system. If we go over to, let's say, the sandstone area, we have a handful of things. Obviously, I used a lot of sandstone with the Indiana Jones project, but it sorts for, I believe, 8 different items. If we go here, this one also sorts for 8 different items. So I think by having a handful of different things to sort by, as well as those other 2 methods, I stayed pretty organized this season. This storage system really worked for me. I loved it a lot, but I will say the one thing that I regret is that my main project was not close to my starter area. So I found myself coming here super frequently and setting up a second storage area elsewhere, which kind of made it really difficult. So as organized as I was, I think that I should build it closer next time. And just a little peek at the redstone up here. It was super hopper heavy. I need to put composters on these next season. Definitely something to remember. But I think my takeaway from this was I really loved having a balance of some of these old school Minecraft stuff where I didn't have to focus on being super detailed, but then in these hallways, I really got an aesthetic that I loved. And it really felt like home. So just a balance of those things, as well as, of course, having the house up here that I just loved so much that I wanted to build myself. It really felt like a good balance between all of those things for a creative but still enjoyable survival experience. That wraps it up for my personal starter area. Of course, my main project will show up in some future videos and some previous ones on the channel. So if you're interested in touring my mega build, then I, of course, will upload those videos soon. Let's go ahead and move on to our last few items, including some of the big public farms. One of those farms we'll look at is the rocket farm. I already showed off the little request area where you could get rockets. However, this right here is where the rockets are actually coming from. Right there is a little rocket symbol. Obviously, people had a lot of fun putting this together. Here is an awesome design that we'll see in just a second. With the map art, of course, this is where we're at. A whole bunch of little things with a rocket road. Looks very Wizard of Oz type style. And the design in the middle for the actual rockets. As we come to the edge, you'll see where that pattern comes from. Just wow. I can't imagine putting this much effort into making a hole. I love making interior spaces that have lots of detail, and doing patterns like this in just a repetitive way, I really have to give props to the people who put it together. Looking inside the actual farm, there's some sugarcane right there, as well as some creeper farms right here. Super unique design. I don't think I've seen one like this before, but that's where it's all coming from. And of course, this big hole being decorated is really just a way to spawn proof the area, and that makes the rates that much better when someone tries to AFK here. That about does it for the rocket farm. Let's go ahead and continue down the west tunnel. There's quite a few things here, and go over to the public trading hall. This one, of course, is the public trading hall. And the way that it works is it is sorted by villager types. So you can see that there's a little environment here with some portals, another one here, here, and here. So as you can probably guess, if you're interested in using the librarian villagers, you'll go towards the bookshelves and then happen upon this storage room with all the villagers. So super awesome to get the things that you need. And we have those strict entity limits on the server in order to prevent lag for most people. So minimizing lag, of course, is super important, but by keeping all of these things in separate pods, we're able to put them in the right render distance so that we meet those entity rules. But yeah, so this resource, super awesome. I came here all the time, specifically for clerics. I believe they're over there, so that I could get redstone, because I did not have that as part of my little small villager setup. At the end of this west tunnel here, you're not allowed to build anything because it is a totally different pattern. And this is unique to the end of the west tunnel. No other tunnel has this. This is specifically for the Wither Skeleton Farm. We use a lot of beacons on the server, especially for decoration. Maybe that's a little vain, but as a survival server, it becomes pretty funny to do that. So, of course, the Wither Skeleton Farm, in order to supply those beacons, needs to be pretty large. All right, here we are. You can kind of see the outside right there. This place is massive. I really don't want to know how painful it was to mine out all of the different things stopping the bedrock from showing. That alone takes a lot of effort. There's a pretty cool red and black aesthetic with there's a statue of Cable over there, some diamond swords, which of course are made of diamonds, as well as Tango Tech over there, and Mrs. Tango over here. The floor design also is not something to scoff at. You can see a pretty intricate one there as well. Yeah, there's really no words for something of this scale, and you just have to be impressed at how long this takes in survival and how many people contributed to a project like this. The farm, as you can see, is a little efficient. The spawner right here, of course, is just cosmetic. It's something the mods can put in. It's not, you know, survival breaking, if you're curious. And Billy is the best horse. Woodpit again. One other perk that I love specifically about this farm is that they have a music while you murder button, which is just such a fun little addition. And you likely didn't see this on the way in, but of course the the little posts on the end have to have the Wither Skeleton skulls, just to flex a little bit how efficient the farm is. And if you look at the current season of Titancraft, as of the release date of this video, the Wither Skeleton Farm there is even more insane. Not necessarily the build, but the tunnel to get there is just covered in skulls and beacons. It makes this a little shameful. As you can see, the server is a whole lot of fun. There's resources for new players, for crazy people, for players of all kinds. I love playing on Titancraft so much. I don't know if I could play Minecraft anywhere else. It really is just such a special experience being part of the server. And from this Wither Skeleton Farm to the Guardian Farm, the Nether Tunnels and Hub, the End Island, the Games District, the Mail System, the Shopping District. Man, there is so much here for everyone. The Rocket Farm, public trading, starter farms, all that sort of stuff. It's crazy to reflect on this, and I think there's just something magical and special about the season in particular and everything that it brought to the table. It was also nice to take a look at my personal starter areas and the house and underground system. Man, it brings back memories. I know this was only a few months ago when the season ended, but wow. So thanks for taking a little drive down memory lane with me to look at all of these amazing builds. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I would recommend subscribing so you can take a look at the tour of my mega build. There is so much cool stuff to go over there, and of course I have more to say because I designed it all, and it will be a super fun time. So go ahead and make sure you subscribe so that you can see that video as well. I think that's gonna do it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.